Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something maybe a little different, highly focused. We're taking just one source, the lyrics of Alison McLean's song, A Shadow of Man, which also has this subtitle, Craving Connection.
Hmm.
And we're going to really try and unpack the philosophical and emotional structure just within those words.
Yeah, our mission basically is to get past just the surface meaning. We want to understand the emotional weight behind what feels like a real identity crisis here.
Yeah.
What do these specific lines, these phrases tell us about self-doubt, isolation, and, that fundamental human need for belonging?
And it's such a great piece to work with because, like you said, it's very tightly structured. What's fascinating, I think, is that these lyrics, they don't really function like a story, a narrative. It's more like a structured psychological dive, the way things repeat, the specific order of ideas. It really signals these inescapable thought loops the narrator seems trapped in. We're essentially getting a window into a mind really grappling with its own contradictions. Okay, so let's dig right into that. Starting with the core tension. It's right there in the chorus, isn't it? It kind of sets the stage for everything else. The narrator says, I'm just different in a world to explore, with a deep connection I am craving for.
Right. And if we connect that to the bigger picture, I mean, that's the whole existential setup right there. The self says, I'm just different. That's an active statement, yeah. A marker of separation. They see themselves as apart from this world they're in.
Okay.
But then immediately after that comes this huge, overriding need for the opposite, for unification, for belonging, this deep connection. So you've got identity defined by being separate, but the core emotional drive is this hunger to, converge. And that puts the narrator in this state of constant friction. It's uncomfortable. And why lead with the difference? It makes me think the isolation isn't just something happening to them. It's like a foundational state they're operating from, which makes that craving for connection feel even more desperate. It's a desire that actually challenges who they think they are at their core.
Yeah, I think that's it exactly. It's not just feeling different, it's identifying as different. And if that difference is your defining feature, then seeking deep connection becomes inherently risky, doesn't it? It's like you're trying to fill a hole while also, protecting the edges of the hole itself. The paradox.
Exactly. That difficulty, that paradox, forces the focus inward. And the first verse really zeroes in on where the problem actually lies. It becomes pretty clear pretty fast that the world isn't the main enemy here. The battle is completely internal.
Yeah, you get these really powerful lines defining it. A shadow of doubt within ourself. And then that critical realization, our fight is with no other than ourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I read that line and it stopped me cold. The narrator seems absolutely certain the enemy isn't out there. It's their own self-management, maybe.
Yeah, and that internal declaration is so crucial for understanding how deep this struggle goes. By putting the shadow of doubt within the self, the lyrics tap into these really common psychological things, like imposter syndrome or maybe deep self-sabotage patterns. The difference the narrator feels, it isn't presented like a badge of honor. It feels more like a burden, this internal doubt they're carrying. And this links directly to why they want connection. I mean, if your core identity feels flawed, defined by this doubt, what's the next logical step? It's right there in the next line, after realizing the fight is internal, an essence of desire to be someone else.
Wow, okay, that's a huge revelation.
Yeah.
So they're not just seeking connection for company or belonging in a simple way. It's because they feel the current self is just not enough. The connection is maybe a way to escape that doubt.
Exactly. When we talk about psychological conflict, that internal versus external thing, it's massive. External conflict, you can sort of resolve it through action, right? Leave a place, fight an opponent, whatever. But internal conflict, it's recursive. It just follows you. So by focusing the fight purely inward, the narrator makes it clear. The connection they crave is rooted in this really deep lack of self-acceptance. They're hoping, maybe, that connection will somehow redefine them.
Wait, if the fight is only with the self, and the solution they're reaching for is wanting to be someone else, doesn't that make the whole search for connection inherently unstable? Yeah. I mean, if you try to connect while fundamentally rejecting who you are right now, that connection can't really be authentic, can it? Which would just spin the internal conflict even deeper. It sounds like a really vicious cycle built on self-rejection.
It does. It absolutely does.
Okay, that sounds exhausting,
Right.
frankly. And if that difference in doubt define the personal struggle, that sort of philosophical backdrop is just as relentless. Yeah. We keep seeing this highly repetitive, almost meditative line popping up right in verse 2, verse 3, even fading out at the end, pondering the understanding of nothing at all.
Yes. That is such a major thematic element. It's not just background noise. This intense craving for connection, it isn't happening in a vacuum just because the narrator's lonely. It's happening while they are constantly wrestling with this, well, existential dread. That phrase suggests this ongoing, persistent state where they're trying to find some kind of footing, some meaning in a universe that maybe seems to offer nothing inherent anyway.
Yeah.
The repetition is key, like you said. It signals that this isn't just a fleeting thought. It's like the constant background static in the narrator's mind. They keep bumping up against the, I don't know, the incomprehensibility or the void of nothing at all.
Mm. And the timing feels really important, too. This sort of
Yeah.
philosophical void seems to come right before or alongside
Yeah.
the cry for connection.
Precisely. If you accept, even momentarily, that the framework for everything is this nothing at all, well, that creates an extreme sense of urgency, doesn't it? Suddenly a connection with another person or a community. It stops being just a nice-to-have, a social preference. It becomes maybe the only viable anchor point.
Oh, okay.
In a chaotic, maybe meaningless existence, human bonds could become the only source of significance you can find. It feels like the ultimate attempt to ground oneself. If the internal self is defined by doubt, like we discussed, and the external universe feels like a void, then that deep connection is maybe the only thing left that holds any promise of stability or reality.
Okay, so we've got different doubt, this desire to escape the self, and a kind of existential void driving this hunger for connection.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But then verse 3 introduces something else. It feels like a potential counterforce, a flicker of hope maybe.
Yeah.
It really contrasts with that shadow of doubt they mentioned. There is a strength that goes beyond, and then a walking image of it all. We can hear it call.
Yeah, that's a beautiful piece of duality right there, that walking image. It suggests there's a potential, maybe even visible form of this power. Perhaps the ideal self, the opposite of the internal shadow they're fighting. And this strength, it isn't just theoretical. It's actively calling out to the narrator. It's offering a path maybe towards self-actualization, potentially resolving that internal fight. The narrator knows, on some level, that there's a better way. They can hear it. But the tension is, well, while they hear this call to strength, they're still stuck in the cycle. The lyrics immediately pull us back, don't they? By repeating that line about pondering the understanding of nothing at all. Just being aware of potential strength doesn't automatically make the doubt or the dread disappear. The struggle is still very active, even when hope is calling.
Which just shows the incredible power of, what, inertia? Fear. You can see the potential for something better, you can hear the call, but that internal shadow of doubt is just, it's really entrenched opponent. And this, for me, is where the whole emotional weight of the song just lands.
Yeah.
Because the arc doesn't actually resolve into strength or even connection, despite all that striving. Right as the music fades out, after all this exploring of doubt, paradox, existential searching, the narrator gives us the final emotional truth. It's the simplest, most vulnerable line in the whole song. I am just afraid.
Oh, completely. That one phrase just it synthesizes the entire journey for us, doesn't it? It strips away all the intellectual layers, the identity paradoxes, the self-fight, the pondering the void, and it lands on the most basic human motivation. The entire complex structure we've been talking about, it seems ultimately driven by this fundamental raw fear. That fear becomes the engine, you could say. It's maybe why they assert, I'm just different, perhaps as a defense. It's why they want to be someone else, maybe as an escape from feeling vulnerable. So the deep connection they're seeking, it's not just about desire anymore. It feels like a necessary defense against a fundamental fear of being alone, maybe fear of being exposed, or perhaps just fear of being found lacking.
That makes the whole search for connection so much more poignant, I think. It isn't just a casual hope. It's like a lifeline they're desperately seeking out of sheer necessity. It really transforms the song from just a philosophical musing into this profound statement of human vulnerability. And it ends on that note of complete stark honesty, just boiling all the complexity down to one word: fear. Hashtag Doe Outro.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Alison McLean's A Shadow of Man, wow, it's been genuinely revealing, hasn't it? We really saw how the narrator sets up this fundamental tension between wanting to be unique and needing to belong, how self-doubt is the main internal enemy, and how underneath it all, the driving force for that intense craving for connection seems to be the simple, pervasive fear, probably rooted in that existential dread we talked about. Yeah, and if we circle back to the title itself, A Shadow of Man, that final admission of fear raises, I think, a really interesting question to leave you with. If this internal struggle, the doubt, the fear, the isolation, if that defines the narrator's current reality, then what is the shadow exactly? Is the shadow the doubt they're fighting against?
Sure.
Or could the shadow be that ideal, powerful, connected self, that walking image that they're always reaching for but haven't quite managed to become yet? Which is the substance and which is the shadow?
Hmm. That definitely makes you wonder if maybe we're all kind of operating as the shadow of our own potential sometimes. Well, thank you for joining us for this analysis, and we really encourage you, the listener, to maybe think about how your own shadows of doubt might be influencing the connections you seek or maybe avoid in your own world.